Before we know it, Simon, we're right back in to the Premier League, and so many big games coming up next week. Tuesday night, Forest Arsenal, Villa, Newcastle. How'd you like that? And then on Wednesday, if you like, a dress rehearsal for the Carabao Cup final at Wembley. In the Premier League, Anfield, Liverpool against Chelsea. It's as if the Premier League has hardly been away, and TNT Sport is the only place to watch the midweek fixtures next week, including that big game I just mentioned, Liverpool against Chelsea. Simon, I'm absolutely delighted to say that this fella, the big man who's part of the coverage next week, former Liverpool, Tottenham, Stoke and England striker Peter Crouch, joins us live in the show. Peter, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. All good?
All good, Peter. Mr. Jordan's just been talking about you. Go on, Simon. What were you saying to me about Crouchy?
I was saying that my first ever game of ownership at Palace was home game was against QPR, and you came off the bench. And I also said to Jim that I played in a game against you in Marbella, and I think I ended up marking you as a centre half. And I tried to tap you up to leave Villa to come to Palace or something, and you was ever none of it.
I actually remember you speaking to me about coming to Palace, and I remember we had a conversation when you were out there, and yeah, it was around that time where I think I moved to Portsmouth, but I remember you trying to sign me.
I marked him out of the game, I might add.
Yeah, Peter, you tell us exactly what happened that day, mate. He did not mark you out of the game. There's not a chance of that.
No, I forgot he was playing.
I love it. Did he have his white boots on, incidentally? He constantly tells me he wore white boots at Wembley.
Do you know what? He had a lot of style. Yeah, you could see him on the pitch, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure he might be out of the game.
Peter, I look at your former clubs, and Liverpool's won, Tottenham, Stoke, and there were others as well. Where were you happiest as a player?
I just think I played my best football at Liverpool. You know, I think I wasn't ready for the Premier League, although I was signed by Aston Villa at like 21. I wasn't quite ready. I had to drop down a level, went on loan to Norwich, and then just when I was ready for the Premier League, I got into the England squad. I was playing for Liverpool, and just my happiest time was being there. I think we finished second, didn't quite win the Premier League, but we got to a Champions League final. You know, won the FA Cup, and I was playing really well for England. So I'd say, you know, selfishly, because I was playing my best football, my favourite time was Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah, you're quite right. We were talking about Liverpool at the top of the show, Peter. Liverpool 5 points clear of Manchester City, and then we got on to what might they win, and then we got on to will they win the lot? Will they win the quadruple? It's on. It's certainly on, is it not?
I was talking to a few of my, you know, Liverpool friends actually this morning, funny enough, about the same thing. It's weird how it kind of creeps up. Like last season, you have to say, was an incredible disappointment. Yeah, but this season, you know, going really well in Europe, obviously top of the Premier League. You know, still in the cups, and just got to a final, like you say, and it could end up being a fantastic season. Still a long way to go, and obviously Man City will have a huge impact, you think, towards the second half of the season. But things are looking good for Liverpool at the moment.
They are. I mean, as I said, a dress rehearsal for the Carabao Cup final next Wednesday, live on TNT Sport, Liverpool against Chelsea. If Liverpool come through that, and who's to say they won't, I think we're beginning to think of Liverpool, yeah, on the podium at the end when the Premier League trophy is lifted. There's a long way to go, Peter. We're not even into February yet. I know that, but it's a game like that when you see momentum building. You think, yeah, they can do this.
Yeah, without doubt. I think there's a huge, you know, a lot of people worried with De Bruyne coming back. You know, when you look at him, he kind of like when I was playing for Liverpool, the talisman was Steven Gerrard. When he was out injured, you kind of looked around thinking, you know, who's going to win us the game? And I think Kevin De Bruyne does have that impact at Manchester City. But from Liverpool's point of view, you know, the Chelsea game, that shouldn't hold any fear for them whatsoever. I've watched a lot of Chelsea this season, and you know, been highly disappointing. I think it's not the Liverpool-Chelsea games. Certainly when I was playing in those games, they were a much better side than us, really. We had match winners that could definitely, you know, impact the game, but Chelsea were a better side at that time. I don't think at the moment they're probably in a transitional period, and Liverpool far the better side. So I think they'll come through that comfortably. And come the end of the season, it'll be the same old faces. I think Manchester City and Liverpool towards the end for the title.
Peter, you're a popular guy. Simon and I are sitting in front of message boards, text, tweets coming in. You gave your best everywhere you went, and that goes without saying, but it seems very apparent that fans haven't forgotten that, especially Liverpool fans. I'm looking at the messages. There's one I've selected at random. Tom wants to know, ask Big Crouchy, Darwin Nunez, is he convinced by Darwin Nunez?
Well, you know what? Like, I think he's in the best place for him to blossom. I remember, obviously, my time when I signed for Liverpool, I had a really difficult spell at the start, and I think many Premier League clubs would have, washed their hands of a striker that couldn't score. Certainly after winning the Champions League in the manner they did in Istanbul. So I think with Darwin Nunez, I think he's had a few teething problems, and I think he is still a bit raw. But I looked at him last night. I still think he's going to have a huge impact. And what's amazing is the fans. How well they've stuck by him, and I think, he has got that support, he's got that confidence of the manager, of his teammates, and of the fans as well. So I think if given the time, I think he will eventually blossom into the player he's become. I think it's difficult for new players coming in when you look at Haaland's impact. It's always being compared to kind of his impact at Manchester City. I think of, Haaland at United, and similar to Nunez, when they've signed around the same time, people are comparing him to him. I think if you leave him alone, let him get on with his work, I think he will be a huge asset for Liverpool.
Simon, you'll probably see Peter's talking about Liverpool there. On that same night, and again, TNT Sport will be across it, one of your other former clubs, Peter, Tottenham, up against Brentford. Postecoglou, Ange Ball. What do you make of it?
Well, I love it. I'll be honest, and I've done a lot of Tottenham games last year as well. And last year was a dark place. It was a horrible place to be. It was a bit toxic at times. I felt the football was miles off it. And you know what? Even if Spurs don't go on and win a trophy or even get in the Champions League, it feels like there's a feel-good factor around the place again. And I think the manager's brought that. I know some of the players, and you speak to them, and they're all happy going into training, and that wasn't the case before. It wasn't just the grounds on a Saturday that were toxic. It felt like the dressing room culture was wrong, and I think now he's changed all that. I think it's been addressed. He's bought well. It's an exciting place to be, and of course I think they're in a difficult game in the cup, obviously, but winning a trophy is where I think if you speak to fans, they would rather win something than even finish in the top four. I think it's been so long.
I mean, next week, February the 1st, on Thursday night, Manchester United go to Wolves. That will be far from straightforward for Manchester United at Molineux, right?
Yeah, brilliant. Actually, I actually did the game the other night against Brighton with Wolves. It wasn't a great game, but I actually got to spend some time with Gary O'Neill before the game, and I know Sean Derry, one of his coaches. I'm sure Simon knows as well, and it was just so impressive. I think what he's achieving at Wolves, and very unlucky, I think, to what happened at Bournemouth. But I think what we're seeing now is Gary O'Neill, doing what he does. I think he's one of the best young coaches and managers that we've got around at the moment. Anyone who in and around him, who speaks about him, or players that work with him, telling me how impressive he is. And I think he's just bringing that to Wolves, and it's a credit to him. But I think he's got the players playing. He's lost so many kind of influential people in that dressing room. You think of Jimenez, Cody, Moutinho, Neves. So many big characters and people who've had influence with Adama Traore. And he lost all them and replaced them with it's a new side. It's in transition, but it's very exciting, and different. Obviously, Manchester United on a very different path at the moment.
Some of the messages are brilliant here, Peter. You're on YouTube and Facebook at the moment. You're talking. I met you. Do you remember at the new Tottenham Stadium not that long ago? And it was pre-match, and all the fans wanted to talk to you, and you gave of your time very generously. And this fella is saying, "I'm watching Big Peter on YouTube with you and Simon. He's got a smile on his face. He played with a smile on his face. Where does he get his good nature from?" It's true. Any time I've ever met you, Peter, you're always upbeat.
I suppose I try to be. It's like, what have we got to be downbeat about? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting here now, I'm talking to you. I've had a career that I feel very blessed for, retired kind of on my own terms. And, I don't know, it's one of those things where I think we were incredibly lucky to do what we do. And I think I always played and enjoyed it, like, I suppose everyone would. I look at too many players now who, not even celebrating when they score goals. And you think, what enjoyment are you getting out of this game if you can't even have a smile on your face when you score a goal? So listen, I think that came across in what I did, and hopefully it comes across in what I do now, because I am enjoying it and I'll continue to do it until someone cancels me or something.
And of course, you've always got that sense of relief that you dodged a bullet by not going to his Crystal Palace.
You know what? Listen, they had good forwards. I think around that time it was Andrew Johnson. I think Clinton Morrison was doing a really good job for Palace as well. So
you were in Southampton's scabby team that came and beat us or drew with us 2-2 at the penultimate game of the season, which helped send us down, Crouchy. So sling your hook.
Yeah, well, you know what? I took us down as well. So fair's fair.
Yeah, fair enough.
Is there one team you didn't play for, Palace apart, one team you didn't play for, Peter, that now you look back, you think, damn it, I wish they'd come in for me?
One team, I would have loved to have played abroad. You know, like I grew up watching Italian football, and I was a Sampdoria fan because of Vialli and things. I would have loved to have gone to Italy and played, but you know, in England, you know, I felt I had I couldn't complain, you know what I mean, playing for Tottenham, for Liverpool, Portsmouth, Southampton. You know, it's great clubs. Stoke was a great time for me as well. So, listen, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.